Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to head back over to California, and this is a brewery who I've never done anything from before, so I'm quite excited to try this one because I've heard very good things, mainly from my friend Lee in Japan who raves about their beer. So for this one we are going to go to Green Flash Brewing Company in San Diego. I think this might actually be my very first visit to San Diego, but this beer is going to be their West Coast IPA, and it's a double IPA and it has really good ratings on Rate Beer and Beer Advocate, so I'm very excited to try this one for you today. But it's actually quite hard to get the Green Flash stuff, but since I'd heard such good things I bought this bottle as soon as I saw it, so hopefully I can find some more for you in the fairly near future. But anyway, as is usual with my beer reviews then, I'll take you through a very brief history of the brewery. It will only be 2 or 3 minutes, but if you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. The brewery website's in the description for you below, and I'll also put a link down there that will take you to what will hopefully be my future Green Flash reviews. But as I say, the beers are quite hard to get, so hopefully I can find them somehow. But anyway, Green Flash Brewing Company, as I told you, are based in San Diego in California, and they were founded by Mike and Lisa Hinckley back in 2002, but they were originally based in Carlsbad, which is still actually in San Diego County, but just a little bit to the north of the main San Diego city. But they moved to their current location in Mira Mesa in 2011. But their current brewmaster is Chick Silva, and in addition to their core range of beers, he and his team often like to produce many experimental beers. And the brewery actually has its own tap room, which at any one time will have 30 different beers on tap, and they offer regular tours as well. And they've got quite an interesting food menu, so as I say, go and check out the brewery website below and you can have a look at all of these things. But you will find most of the kind of experimental beers in the tap room there, and they do have a few regulars that are on cask there that they brew every so often as well. But apparently, according to the article that I read, Green Flash are the 48th largest brewery by sales in the US. I believe the 49th one is actually Bear Republic, which I reviewed for you just a little while ago. But these guys are the 48th largest craft brewery by sales in the US, and the Mira Mesa brewery can produce 55,000 barrels of beer per year, but they're constantly expanding. I believe the 55,000 figure was from 2014, so it is quite recent, and they always seem to be expanding, so I'm sure there'll be more there'll be another increase in Green Flash's brewing capacity. But anyway, to tell you about the other beers you can get from these guys, I'm only listing the bottles here, by the way. In the year-round range you get this guy, the West Coast IPA, the Double Stout, the Hophead Red, Imperial IPA, pardon me, my voice is going, Le Freak, 30th Street IPA. In the seasonals you get Palate Wrecker, Road Warrior, Green Bullet, and in the Hop Odyssey series you get Citra Session, Mosaic Session, and also the Seagal Ranch Session, which should be quite interesting beers. As I say, hopefully I can find these for you at some point fairly soon and review a few more of them, because like I say, I've heard very good things about Green Flash. But let me just bring up the camera, let you have a little quick look at the artwork on this one. So this one is an 8.1% double or imperial IPA, however you want to describe it. It's actually quite nicely presented. You can see it's nicely done, just quite simply designed, but it's got 5 different hops in it: Columbus, Cascade, Centennial, Simcoe and Citra. It's got 95 IBUs and it's an 8.1% double IPA, like I say, and that is the kind of standard Green Flash bottle cap on it. I'll just put it in the light so you can see it a little bit better, but it looks really nice. I'm not sure if it's named after maybe some comic characters or something. I don't know where the Green Flash name comes from. You've got obviously the Green Lantern and things like that, and then the Flash, so maybe they're comic fans. That seems to be quite common out in California, I think, but they very much love their beer as well. But anyway, we'll get this guy out and we'll get on with the tasting. The commercial description that was on the website for this one, it says, as craft beer pioneers we embarked on an expedition to brew the benchmark West Coast IPA. We ventured into the unknown and struck gold, discovering a tantalising menagerie of hops: Simcoe for tropical and grapefruit zest, Columbus for hop pungency, Centennial for pine notes, Citra for citrus zest, and Cascade for floral aroma, and layered throughout the brewing process. West Coast IPA exemplifies the Green Flash spirit of adventure and discovery. So yeah, it should be a very interesting beer, so let's get it out and we'll get on with the tasting here. I'll just check the camera's behaving itself, and it is. So here we go. So as you can see, a nice smoky opening there. This guy has 95 IBUs according to Rate Beer and Beer Advocate. And one of the other things about this beer I should point out is that there apparently was 2 versions of this. They've changed the recipe in, I think it was 2013, and then this version of it The original version I think was 7.3%, and this new version is 8.1%, and they've changed this over since the so they've just changed this over quite recently, I believe, but it's still meant to be a very, very nice beer. 97 on Rate Beer and Beer Advocate, but as you can see, this guy has an absolutely huge head on it. I think it's a kind of creamy coloured head. It's slightly off-white, I would say, but as you can see, it's poured a nice kind of rich goldeny amber colour here. I'll just flick the light down so you can get an idea of the colour of this beer. You can see it there. A nice kind of rich goldeny amber colour, sort of caramel colour actually. If I put my fingers behind it, you can see it's not really transparent. It is quite a hazy beer, but it looks really nice. There's quite a lot of carbonation visible in this one, but as you can see, a huge three-finger head at least coming off this guy. Cream coloured, very kind of frothy rather than bumpy, but it looks a very, very nice beer. Some bigger bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass, but a lot of smaller bubbles rushing up towards the bottom of the head there. It looks really, really nice actually. So let's have a look at the aroma on this one. I'll need to pour the rest of it out when I actually get to the tasting. But yeah, as you can imagine, a huge kind of tropical fruit aroma there. Just stick that light back up, that's getting right in my eyes. But as you can tell, a really nice sort of hoppy fruit aroma in there. Big fruity characteristics. You've got the big grapefruity presence, which is the grapefruit presence really is more, I think it's the cascade that tends to bring out the grapefruit a bit more. You've got some sort of more complex tropical fruits in there too, and I think that's usually the Citra gives you a really kind of interesting range of tropical fruits. You get like peaches and papaya and things like that, but I think this one's mainly sort of peach and passion fruit in there. The Simcoe will give you some of that as well. So you get a good mix of tropical fruits from mainly the Citra, but the Simcoe can give you just a little bit of sort of passion fruit and pineapple-y stuff as well. But there's a good citrusy element coming out. It's not actually sugarling very well, this one, just because of the size of the head. But you've got a nice big citrusy element to it as well. I want to say it's actually more of a kind of limey citrus that's coming off this one actually. So that's your Columbus and Cascade hops that's giving off the citrus in there, but there's a big sort of floral and aromatic character too, which is usually the sort of Centennial and Cascade that give that. Centennial is the one that will give you the pine resins too, but I don't think you can really get too much of the pine resin off this. It's actually quite a grassy hop you're getting from it too, but I can't sugar it up that much to get some of the more malty notes out. But you can pick up just a little bit of a kind of nice sweet caramel. It's slightly toasty, but there is a big kind of doughy and bready element to it as well, so it has all the typical elements that you would expect of a West Coast IPA, but it's got a huge head on it that doesn't seem to want to move. But we'll get on with it and see how we get on with the tasting here. Yeah, forgot to give you a cheers, so cheers to my friend Lee in Osaka in Japan. This is one of his favourite beers, he tells me, but really quite nice actually. It's actually, for a double IPA, it's surprisingly light and easy drinking, which is one of the characteristics I read about this beer. Yeah, huge big bitter character on this one. You actually just need to let your mouth adjust to that before you can properly pick up the flavours. But it's a lot like the aromas. There's a little bit of sediment coming into the beer there, just with that little last bit of pour. But yeah, it's much like the aroma. The pine resin's actually coming out a good bit more in this, and it's actually got quite a spicy floral and aromatic character. You always get the hop characteristics just around the edge of the tongue there, and this one really is a nice big dry florally and quite spicy aromatic character. There's perhaps just a teeny little bit of earthy character at the very back corners of your palate too, but around the front of the tongue you're getting a really big piney resin, sort of resinous dry character in there, and it's the sort of grassy and aromatic spice that's coming out. There is a little bit of fruit in there as well, but that's coming back just on the very front of the tongue too. That is a beautiful, beautiful beer, I have to say. So much the fruit characteristics, are actually quite interesting in this one. You've got a big grapefruity presence. I always describe the grapefruit as being quite a sort of sour tasting fruit, if that makes sense. If you drink fruit juices, you'll know exactly what I mean. But just behind the very front curve of the tongue, when you're actually moving into the middle of the palate, that's where you're getting a lot of these fruity flavours coming out. You get this nice oily bubble that just comes towards the front of the tongue, and that's bringing out some of the kind of citrusy characteristics. I want to say it's a kind of slightly orangey flavour, but it might have a little bit of a more sharp sort of lemony or limey citrus in there too. The lime citrus is a bit smoother, but more of a lemony citrus perhaps. But yeah, I want to say the most prominent characteristics in this one are actually the sort of big floral and aromatic-y spice. That's what's interesting about this one. I've never had a double IPA that is more focused on the aromatic and the floral character. It's very, very, very nicely done actually, but you're getting a nice bit of the sour grapefruit character in the front of the palate there, just behind the very front edges of the tongue actually, a nice kind of grapefruity character in there, and there is a bit of passion fruit in there too, and peaches, but that's actually quite subdued. It really is the grapefruit that's pushing to the front of this beer, and it's mixing well with that kind of floral aromatic-y spice that is really prominent in the beer, and there's a big pine raisin-y character that's kind of underpinning all of that actually. It's a very interesting beer. It have huge amount of bitter character, but in the middle of the palate too, it's actually quite a bready malt base you're getting from this. Yeah, it is quite a bready malt base. It just kind of blankets the middle of the palate there, and it's quite a light, kind of fluffy, doughy bread flavour you're getting from this one. And there is just a little bit of caramel sweetness that goes down the very middle of the tongue, and perhaps a little bit of biscuity sort of graininess in there too, but it's a very nice bready and slightly sweet malt base in there, but there's a huge amount of flavour going on in this. But it is one of what I would say is that the main components of the flavour, it is the pine raisin and the big florally aromatic character that is coming out mainly on this one, but it's, a lot of the hops they're using in this do have that characteristic, so that's something you would expect, but it's a bit less fruity and a bit more floral and aromatic, so it's a very, very interesting beer, and if that's the kind of flavours you like when it comes to hoppiness, then definitely worth checking out. In terms of the mouthfeel of this one, I would say that it's actually quite light bodied, but it is pushing the mid bodied, but it's quite light for a double IPA. I would say the carbonation is quite smooth. It does have just a nice little bit of malty sweetness, but the fruity hop dry character is the kind of main component. It's mainly a big floral aromatic-y flavour out this, and it is actually really dry around the edges of the palate there. And in the aftertaste of this beer, you really are getting a sort of big lingering piney resin and floral aromatic character. You can pick up some of the grapefruit. The grapefruit is the most punchy of the fruit characteristics in this one, but you do get a little oily bubble that comes towards the front of the mouth that brings some of the more citrusy flavours out. So it's quite an interesting one. There's a lot of stuff going on in this beer, so just pay attention to it because you'll get some of the more subtle flavours. But as I say, floral and aromatic spice and pine resins, and then that nice kind of doughy, light doughy bread malt base are the main components of the flavour here. So overall, I would say this is an awesome kind of double IPA, particularly if, like me, you enjoy the sort of floral and aromatic-y hops that are quite interesting. Definitely give it a try with that. But it's actually frighteningly drinkable for a double IPA too. It's really light and it is quite an easy one to enjoy, so I really would recommend it. But anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this beer review. Hopefully this is the first of many from Green Flash Brewing Company that I'll be doing for you. As I say, it's quite hard to get some of their beers here, but hopefully I can get a hold of a few more of them. But I hope you've enjoyed this beer review nonetheless. Let me know in the comments section your own thoughts below if you have tried it before, and please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff, and I will have some more Californian beer reviews coming up for you soon, and hopefully more Green Flash. But slàinte for now.